your child is struggling in school, your teenager was all of a sudden not bringing home the grades that you're usually used to getting, that they're used to getting, quite frankly, and you're thinking, hey, now might be the best time for us to bring in a tutor and get a little extra support, right? School struggles, let's get a tutor. Makes sense, doesn't it? Yes, but no. I'm going to share with you a couple of questions that I want you to go through while you're deciding what kind of help your child would really benefit the most from, combined with what your goals for your student are and what their goals are, right? Because at the end of the day, we need to be able to empower them so that they can continue these skills throughout their journey as a student. All right, I want you to break down what exactly is going on. This does take a little bit of time, but the return you get is tremendous, and it really helps you bring in the right support for your student. Sometimes it's an emergency support for a test or a final that they have this coming week. That's very different than coming up with a plan for the semester, let's say. So first thing I want you to look at is, are they participating in class? So participation in class looks like taking notes, looks like raising their hand. So one of the things that I always recommend to families when they're talking to teachers is, hey, what's going on in the classroom? What do they look like? Do they look like they're engaged? Do they look like they're paying attention, right? And whether you answer yes or no to this, it was kind of a trick question. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. So if they are paying attention during class and we're still seeing the struggles, it's going to make us think, okay, we're paying attention. We're, doing all the things that an active student looks like they're doing, and they're still struggling. So we need to dig a little deeper. If they're not paying attention and they're not writing the notes and they're kind of falling asleep in class, well, that's pretty easy, right? But is a tutor going to help the student with that? Probably not. Question number 2. If you've been with me for a little bit, I am a little bit annoying in the way that I love to ask questions. Questions give you so much information. So is your student asking questions? So this looks like asking questions in the class, responding to questions in the class. Sometimes our kids are, if they're really confused and really don't understand, depending on their personality, they may be like, hey, can you explain that again? Because I just didn't get it at all. But most teachers, I have yet to meet a teacher, contrary to what your children may tell you, that doesn't have opportunities for the students to ask them questions. Sometimes it needs to be at lunch, before school, after school, during office hours. Is your student asking questions and participating actively in class? That's another question. So if they are asking questions and they're still struggling, it kind of needs to make you figure out what pieces of the puzzle are we needing to get. Is this a tutor that's going to be able to help, right? We don't know yet. We don't know the answer to that yet. If they're not asking questions, sometimes they don't ask questions because they're so confused, they don't know where to begin. So I think in that case, the person they need to get in communication with is the teacher. Bringing in a tutor is not going to help. Another solution is empowering the student to go ahead and learn how to ask questions. Practice asking questions. Practice sending that email. I've had to do that before. That our whole session was writing an email to the teacher because there was 2 assignments that weren't done. Our goal was not to get the assignments, the teacher to say, yes, you can turn them in late. My goal was, let me empower the student so that they can learn how to advocate for themselves. These kids have executive functioning deficits. So you could explain it to them, put it on the board, all the portal, he still missed a step, right? That's classic executive functioning struggles. So he needs to learn how to advocate for himself, not just for this one teacher, but for the next teacher and the next teacher and the rest of his educational career. When I'm talking about tutors here, I'm talking about a tutor that's going to go over a chapter 10 test and prepare them for the test. I'm talking about someone to come in and help with homework. So I don't know that a tutor is going to be able to do all of that for your student. Okay, Third question that I want you to think about when you're trying to figure out, do I need to get a tutor to help my child with chapter 10 tests and with homework? Is your student prepared to study? So, do they know what materials to gather? Do they know what the act of studying looks like? A lot of these kids, as they're growing up, they have these deficits, but they're smart. School's easy. They don't really have to put any skills together to get pretty good grades, And then all of a sudden, third, fourth, fifth grade, as the gap gets bigger, maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe it doesn't happen until high school. That the gap gets so big, they've been able to get by all along, and now comes high school, all of a sudden, they never had to practice how to study. They never had to put their organization skills to the test. They never had to do those things because they just got by. But now they've got to figure it out, and they may not know how to do that. Do they have their notes? Do they know where to look for the information? Do they know how to do the study guide? Do they know where the study guide is? Maybe there's 2 study guides and 2 different portals that they have access to, and they just missed that part of the teacher's explanations. So with this one, are they prepared to study? If they did have a tutor to help them study for chapter 10, and let's say they only had lesson 1 through 4, but chapter 10 goes through lesson 5, they would study with a tutor, lesson 1 through 4, but they'd get to the test and they'd have missed studying for lesson 5. So what we're really looking at here is more of an organizational, more of a metacognition, more of a working memory, which are all executive functioning skills that our kids are struggling with. Can a tutor come in and help with these things? My answer is going to be a regular tutor that that's just going to review the material with them is going to be like a Band-Aid and help them with the next day, help them with this week. So when we look at the whole picture, what does our student need, right? Do they just need to make it through next week? Maybe this is finals, right? But I really want you to go through those questions because maybe your student needs a little bit more to work on those foundational skills so that they're empowered. Remember, when we're looking at kids with executive functioning skills, one of the things that research is showing us that really benefits them the most is them being empowered and knowing how to navigate their strengths and weaknesses. Teaching them how to navigate that study hall, teaching them how to navigate using email to communicate with teachers, teaching them how to double check. Hey, Mr. Smith, we have a test on chapter 10. These are the notes I have. This is the PowerPoint you gave us. Am I missing anything? That's a great way to check yourself. So when you're looking to hire a tutor, ask yourself these questions. Sometimes we need a tutor to go ahead and help us with the next test, help us with the next big project. But I challenge you, I invite you to think, does your student need more than that to get them through the rest of their career? I will say that sometimes the subject matter is like really hard, and they do need a tutor to re-explain chemistry, to re-explain a very challenging subject matter. Not all teachers are available. So that's something that you also have to take into place. So sometimes an academic tutor that just comes in and just works on on the content, chapter 10 test, there is a time and place, but I want you to start thinking about all the other things that are going for. So if you're wondering, really, does my child have executive functioning struggles? Is that why they're so flaky? Is that why all of a sudden they're having these struggles? I want you to get more information, okay? I want you to start collecting data. So I have another video that talks exactly about, does my child struggle with executive functioning skills? And it breaks it down. Again, a few more questions. It breaks it down for you in an easy way to understand. And I have a resource in there for you as well. So go ahead and watch the next video so you can get as much information as you can and figure out, is a tutor really going to help my child, or do I need to dig deep into these executive functioning skills? All right, folks, Nicole Santamaria, pediatric occupational therapist. You can find me here on YouTube and at NicoleSantamaria.com.